staging.
It is very
I like
nice.
it. It's beautiful.
Hey, it's great to have you here as we begin talk about the postseason. Time to take a little bit of a breath, maybe not a deep breath, but a breath and kind of reflect on the regular season and what you guys have accomplished.
Sure, I definitely talked to the team yesterday about, let's reflect where we were in September, what our conversation of possibility, where we want to be. There's 3 seasons we talked about, the non-conference, the season, the conference games now, postseason. Hopefully we've learned a lot and we've grown, and now it's time to see where we're at in this Big East tournament.
All right, Friars finished the regular season 22-9, 10-8 in the Big East, and the postseason honors have already begun to roll in, and that's where we begin our discussion tonight with news that Chris Dunn and Ben Bentil are unanimous selections to the Big East first team. No surprise there, right?
Not surprised, very deserving, as well as some of the other players that are in our conference. But those 2 gentlemen have carried us, and when again, when they play well and they're at their best, we're really tough out. Hopefully, we're over the bug, we're over the injury, we're over the flus and all the viruses. But really, congratulations to Ben and Chris on their accomplishment.
I don't think many people were surprised at Chris Dunn's performance and the fact that he is on that first team now in the postseason. But Ben Bentil, I don't think many people expected what he accomplished so far this year.
I think it's a credit to his will to get better, his will to stay in the gym. He really worked on his body, leaned out. He's probably the national most improved player of the year. So we're really happy to have Ben and look forward to having him come back next year.
All right, earlier this week, prior to the Friars' regular season home finale, they held the senior ceremony. Junior Lamamba was honored at center court prior to the game. A young man who started in every game this season, has played in more than 40 games the past 2 seasons. The Montreal native was joined on the court with his mom and his sisters. Big smile there. Then it was Chris Dunn's turn, the first Friar to ever register more than 1,000 points, 500 assists, 400 rebounds, 200 steals in a career. Dunn received a rousing reception when his name was announced. He had his family out there with him as well. And after the game, I asked the 2015 Big East Player of the Year what was going through his mind when he stepped on the floor for that honor.
It was just a special moment for my family and I. Providence, they made it a home for us, made it very comfortable for us, and just allowed me to be the person I wanted to be and to become. And really, it was just exciting. Coach Cooley, he did an amazing job with me and my family. He always been there for us. And my teammates, I have to thank them more than anybody for getting this win for me and Junior. That's what it's all about. It's just finishing out with a great win and winning for the seniors, and that's what they did. And I have to thank everybody.
All right, of course, that win over Creighton at the Dunk on Wednesday night. And how do you feel about those senior ceremonies? It's kind of bittersweet, isn't it?
It is bittersweet, but you see where those young kids come in when they're 18 years old, and then you see them go out when they're 21, 22, and you see the total progression of their personalities, their play, their bodies. They're a lot more confident. So, you kind of sit back and say to yourself, wow, these kids have really grown up, and you move them on in life.
So the Friars finished the regular season with 3 wins, the most recent yesterday at Madison Square Garden against St. John's. And, one thing that kind of jumped out at me on the stat sheet was 3-point shooting. Against Creighton, 4 for 24 in threes earlier this week, and then against St. John's, 13 for 30. Where did that come from?
Well, Jalen got off to such a hard start. Yeah. And I mean, like Jalen keeps shooting the ball with, we're saying look for him, he's feeling it. We know Ben could stretch the floor a little bit. I was really happy to see Junior make one. Then Ryan came in and got in the fray a little bit. So we need everybody. If we're going to make a run in any one of these tournaments that we're about to play in, we need everybody to play at that elite level.
Certainly timing is everything, and to have these guys clicking on all cylinders now as you head to the postseason, that's key.
All of us coaches want our teams to be playing at their best come March, like February, March. So hopefully we're getting close to our best, but our best is yet to come.
All right, still more to come on the PC Coaches Show with Ed Cooley. When we return, we'll meet another member of the Friars who was honored this past Wednesday night at the Dunkin' Donuts Center. Stay with us. And welcome back to the PC Coaches Show with Ed Cooley. I'm Frank Carpano. Now, Chris Dunn and Junior Lamamba weren't the only members of the Friars honored at the team's final home game this past week. Nick Rojas has the story of another important member of the team.
Providence College senior Matt Centore has a dream job, one that he has been wanting to do since he was a kid, to work for the Friar basketball team.
When I was 7 years old, my dad took me to my first PC game, and it was when Ryan Gomes was a freshman. And ever since then, I was a Friar fanatic. But when I came here, I was actually able to, lucky enough to become a part of the family, and it's been an unbelievable 4 years.
But Matt, who has cerebral palsy, faced an uphill battle when it came to transitioning to a more independent life at Providence College.
Well, I guess like the biggest thing would be throughout my entire school career up until college, I always had someone like helping me out in terms of carrying stuff and things like that. So I had to figure out ways to do things on my own. But it really didn't take that long for me to adjust. It took maybe a couple weeks for me to figure it out. And then also I was lucky enough to be able to find something that I could actually do on an everyday basis when it comes to practice. I run the clock and the scoreboard. So that's one of my biggest aspects of my job. So it made it easy for me because it's not too difficult, and it's also an important part of practice.
Now in his final year of school, Matt was able to give back to A Wish Come True, a nonprofit organization that helped him grant his wish over a decade ago.
When I was 8 years old, they actually granted me a wish, which was to meet Kobe Bryant. So when this opportunity came up, I convinced my group mates that we should work with them because I felt like it was time to give back and time to give something back to the organization that gave me one of the best days of my life. So we were able to work with them, and we did a bowling event for this one kid, Noah, and we actually raised double the amount we were supposed to raise. We raised close to $6,000, and we sent him and his family to Disney, as well as half funding another wish. It was a lot of work, but it was a really special day and a really special event to be able to do that for another kid and see the look in his eye when he found out he was going to Disney, and it was just awesome to know that you had something to do with that.
If Matt's story says anything, it's that the love of sports trumps any obstacles in your way. For the Coaches Show, I'm Nick Rojas.
All right, thank you very much, Nick, and a really unbelievable story about overcoming his disability to be able to fulfill a dream and work with the Friars.
We are so blessed to have someone like him in our organization. You know, I think he brings perspective to our players. You know, when you're living a dream and he's talking about being at his dream school and participating, how he helps us out in practice. You know, he, along with Matt Garvin and Anthony Notar, are the kind of behind-the-scenes guy that do a lot of different things the eye don't see. So I'm proud of him. I appreciate him, and we look forward to him graduating.
And in your mind, they're as much a part of the team as the players are, I would imagine.
Just as important. You know,
yeah.
You know, they do the job that a lot of people don't want to do, but as their coach and as someone who appreciates the job that they do, God bless them.
And you say it's a great training ground for them as they go on in their careers, whatever they're going to be pursuing.
Sure. When, you know, we get a lot of calls from, you know, when these kids go out to try to get jobs, and they'll give me a call, talk about their strengths, their weaknesses, and the one thing I can talk about is their perseverance, man. They grind through a lot of situations. Sometimes they're the first in the office, they're last to leave, first off the plane, first on the plane. They're getting meals, balls, water, jerseys, picking us up, dropping us off. I mean, they have a smorgasbord of responsibilities.
That's great. All right, still more to come on the PC Coaches Show with Ed Cooley. When we come back, we'll be talking about the week ahead for the Friars. They are headed to New York City for the Big East tournament at the world's most famous arena. We'll get Coach Cooley's thoughts on their first-round opponent when we return. Welcome back to the PC Coaches Show with Ed Cooley. I'm Frank Carpano. The Friars are locked in as the #4 seed in the Big East tournament. That event will get underway on Wednesday at New York's Madison Square Garden. The Friars will be tipping off Thursday at 2:30 against the Butler Bulldogs. Now, you played the Bulldogs twice this regular season, once on New Year's Eve, where you beat them by a score of 81-73. Then 2 weeks later, you beat them by a score of 81-72. But they're a much different team now, you say, Coach.
Absolutely. Winners of 7 out of their last 9, you know, with losses to Villanova and Xavier, 2 of the better teams in our league. You know, their seniors are playing really well. Kellen Dunham, Roosevelt Jones, and probably one of the most improved players in the country, and Kellen Martin. So they have a lot of firepower offensively. You know, they're still playing, you know, for pride. They're trying to win a Big East Conference Tournament championship, so it should be a great game.
I know we talked a lot about the Friars getting to double figures wins in the Big East, and that being the gauge for getting an NCAA tournament bid. So do you believe that you're there for that next tournament?
I like to believe our body of work has proven that we're one of the better teams in the country. I think we were ranked 13 or 14 of the weeks of the rankings. You know, we went through a slide when Ben hurt his ankle on February 2nd. Then the entire team came down with the flu. Whether you want to use that excuse or not, it's fact. It's fact. But when we're healthy, we're as competitive as any team in the country. When we're healthy, we're probably one of the top 10 teams in the country.
Sure.
So I like to believe we're in. I'm very optimistic that our name will be called. But if we take care of what we have to in New York, we're able to go out and win the tournament championship.
No questions asked.
We are who we are.
All right, best of luck this week.
Thanks a lot.
All right, that will do it for this week's edition of the PC Coaches Show. March Madness now underway, and we invite you to follow the Friars at the Big East Tournament right here on NBC 10. My live reports from New York City begin later this week. You can also follow me on Twitter and Facebook. I'm Frank Carpano for the coach, Ed Cooley. We'll see you next week back here on the Coaches Show. Have a good night, everybody.